Or in the rain, 2 lives, 1 choice. The rain in Edinburgh didn't just fall, it haunted. It slicked the cobblestones of the narrow winds and turned the sky into a bruised purple curtain. For Alex, the dampness seemed to seep into his very soul. He stood in a shadowed alleyway, the weight of his recent failures heavy in his pockets. His job at the firm was gone, and his partner had followed shortly after. In his hand, he clutched a heavy rusted iron key he'd found discarded in the gutter, its bow shaped like a jagged, unfinished heart. Propped against a crumbling brick wall was a door that hadn't been there yesterday. It was made of ancient, dark wood, bound by iron straps that looked like frozen vines. Tacked to the center was a small parchment note that fluttered in the wind. It read, "Choose once. Live twice." Below the note was a keyhole, glowing with a soft, amber light, shaped perfectly to receive the heart-topped key. With a trembling hand, Alex stepped forward, the metal clicking home with a sound like a heartbeat. As the door swung open, the scent of ozone was replaced by the sterile, cool air of a climate-controlled office. Alex stepped through and found himself wearing a sharp, tailored suit. He was standing in a glass-walled corner office, overlooking a shimmering, futuristic skyline. This was the path of safety. On his desk lay a high-end tablet displaying complex code and a massive bank balance. He felt a profound sense of security, a shield against the hunger and cold he had known only moments before. The scene shifted like a dream. Alex was in a beautifully appointed kitchen, the air thick with the smell of roasting garlic. A woman named Clara entered, smiling warmly as she set a bottle of expensive wine on the marble counter. They shared a quiet, polite conversation about their investments and the upcoming neighborhood gala. There was no shouting, no uncertainty, and no fear. Clara's touch was gentle, and the house was a fortress of comfort, filled with soft rugs and silent clocks. Decades flashed by in a heartbeat. Alex sat in a leather armchair by a fireplace that never smoked. He was older now, his hair a distinguished silver, his hands smooth and uncalloused. He looked at a gold watch on his wrist, a gift for 40 years of dedicated service. The room was silent. He realized then that his life had been a long, straight line, without a single jagged peak of joy or valley of sorrow. It was a comfortable, hollow shell, a masterpiece of beige existence. Alex pulled back, the vision dissolving into the wood of the door. He turned the key again, and the air exploded with warmth and the vibrant rhythm of a Spanish guitar. He was in Buenos Aires, the sun a fierce gold against terracotta walls. He wasn't wearing a suit. His shirt was thin cotton, damp with sweat. Beside him stood Sophia, her eyes bright with fire as she tuned a battered acoustic guitar. This was the path of risk, a life written in ink and melody. Their life was a chaotic dance. One night they slept in a tiny, cramped apartment where the heater rattled like a dying beast, sharing a single bowl of spicy stew. They laughed until they cried because they had spent their last pesos on a rare vinyl record instead of bus fare. Sophia leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, whispering lyrics into the crook of his neck. They were poor in coin, but rich in the raw, electric hum of being truly alive. They traveled the continent on rusted buses, playing for crowds in dusty squares and smoky bars. Alex's hands were now calloused from the strings, and his face was lined by the sun, not by worry. In the vision he saw himself and Sophia standing on a cliffside at sunset, the world stretching out before them, infinite and dangerous. There was no pension, no health plan, and no guarantee of tomorrow. There was only the song they were writing together in that very moment. The golden light of South America snapped shut like a book. Alex was back in the Edinburgh alley, the freezing rain drenching his thin jacket. He gasped for air, his lungs burning. The door remained before him, the heart-shaped keyhole still pulsing with that seductive, amber glow. He could feel the weight of both futures pressing against his temples. One offered the safety of a slow death, The other offered the thrill of a beautiful, precarious life. Both felt like destinies already written by someone else. He looked at the door, realizing the trap. The door wasn't just showing him his options, it was trying to claim his agency. If he chose the office, he would always wonder about the music. If he chose the guitar, he would always fear the hunger. By choosing a path already laid out by the door, he was merely stepping into a pre-recorded ghost story. The note said, "Live twice," but Alex realized that living twice meant never truly living once for himself. Alex reached for the key, but he didn't turn it to enter. Instead, he gripped the heart-shaped bow and twisted it hard in the opposite direction. With a sharp, metallic snap, the mechanism locked permanently. He pulled the key out and looked at the door. The amber glow faded, the wood turning back into ordinary, rotting timber. He wasn't going to take the safety, and he wasn't going to chase a vision of a life that belonged to a different version of himself. He chose the third path, the unwritten one. Alex dropped the key into a deep puddle and turned his back on the door. He walked out of the alley and back into the heart of Edinburgh. The rain was still cold, and he still had no job and no partner, but the crushing weight was gone. For the first time in years, the city didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a blank page. He didn't know where he was going, and he didn't know who he would become, but the choice was finally, gloriously, his own.